Hello, my name is Michael Clark. This is Adaptive Instruction and Assessment Strategies for Capella University. Welcome to my podcast. This is Mr. Clark's STEM Chat, episode 21. In tonight's episode, we will be talking about adaptive instruction and what is it and should I be doing it? A little bit of background about myself. I am a STEM teacher at a Title I school in DeLand, Florida. I teach primarily 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and I'm all about hands-on learning in my instruction. Our demographics are 47% white, 24% black, 21% Hispanic, and other around 6%. We have a large population of free and reduced lunch, and lots of specific needs of our learners, and we try to do as best we can with the instructional resources that we have. In the educational research, they talk about adaptive learning in education and how you can apply personalized learning experience for your students, usually using some sort of data and some sort of software program or apps. And it's all tied to their performance, and it adapts to their levels based on how they perform, and gives almost live data for their progress. There's two main types of adaptive learning. One is facilitator driven, and the other is assessment driven approaches. The facilitator one is essentially where the facilitator is in charge of the content and providing the content in an online setting, as opposed to the assessment driven, where it's primarily computer generated, and it delivers instruction and assessment to students autonomously, almost, with a little bit less of intervention from the actual instructor themselves. In this process, I came up with my own adaptive learning program evaluation checklist. This is based off of reviewing all the educational literature out there, and this is what I came up with. What I really wanted to find out was if it met my educational settings instructional needs. So based off of the needs of my students, does it actually help them? Is it user friendly to the instructor and the student? This is huge for me, because if it's not user friendly for my students, they're going to get frustrated and want to quit. So I needed to make sure that it's a user friendly experience for both the instructor and the student. And does it allow for modification of the content delivery? Does it fit with the district budget restrictions? And the data that's generated, is it specific to my students' needs? And then does it allow for teacher intervention? And I took a look at 3 programs. The first one was EdgeElastic. The second one that I looked at was Odyssey Math. And the third one is IC3 Spark, with the focus on the G metrics. So back to EdgeElastic. This is a facilitator-driven adaptive learning program, and the district purchased a district license for this, so you can actually access this through your OneDrive, through Microsoft Office, and that means it has like a single sign-on delivery system, so that students don't have to make up their own username and password. They just go to their V portal, is what they call it, and they can just sign in and join this class. In that class, they can actually focus on content that's put there by myself or selected from a bank that I choose where they need to go, and what they need to cover, and what timeline they have when they're covering that subject. And since I teach a STEM elective, I mainly focus on science, technology, engineering, and math. So EdgeElastic is really good for pretty much any subject. They have a huge bank of pre-made content, and the facilitator can create their own. So if you have any common assessments or something like that, you can actually put your own um, assessments in there and get data that is relative to you in almost real time. You just have to refresh every now and then to get your data from your students. You can give them immediate feedback based on like the dashboard layout right here. It's got student 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. If you scroll down, and it tells you what they did well on and what they need more improvement on. And it's very specific. You can actually narrow it down to each individual standard and figure out what they need more feedback and further instruction on an individual basis, rather than like the whole class saying, "Oh, everybody needs to learn this again." You can just use the data that you get from Educlastic and figure out what the students need to do on an individualized basis. I apply my checklist to this program, and it met almost all boxes except for user-friendly experience for the students. Some of the students were saying that it's too many clicks, and they can get lost pretty easily and have to keep using the back button to get back to like the main page. But other than that, it's pretty user-friendly. You can figure out as an instructor how to upload your own content and import pre-made content that other teachers have made pretty easily. And again, it gives you pretty specific checks that are almost in real time of what the students are doing correct and incorrect and what they need more help on. So I found that pretty helpful too. And it does allow for the teachers in our county to use it because the district has already paid for it. So we don't have to worry about paying for it ourselves or having to just use a free version of it and not get all the features. So it checks almost all the boxes except for one on my checklist. Next, I would be talking about Odyssey Math. This is an assessment-driven adaptive learning software, and we use this on campus, and a lot of my students actually use this with another instructor that is just actually dedicated to this course. And in that course, it's like a credit retrieval course where they can make up any class credit that they need so that they can actually come back to my course, which is actually an elective course. And the teacher and instructor that uses this has very kindly given me some feedback on how she uses it. And she actually showed me how she uses it in her class too. And she said, again, checks almost all the boxes except for it does really not any modification by the instructor for this software. It's all pre-made, preloaded, and the students go through it. And the only negative part for the student side of it is it's very isolating, is what she got feedback from her students. That they're all by themselves, they're not looking around. It's just them and the computer screen going through problems. And it says on their website that it's all engaging and everything, but the teacher actually gave me real feedback from the students saying it's not as engaging because they can just click on something and then just watch a video on how to do it if they missed it, or they get extra work to do if they miss part of a standard instead of just a more like real world connection to that material that maybe a traditional class would have. But the other boxes are met because the district does pay for it for the licenses for our school, because they want all of our students to pass and go on to high school. So getting our students where they need to go and back into their regular classes is a high priority, since we have some very low performing students at our school. So the Odyssey Math software is very good fit for my students, and they use it a lot at our school to try and get the credit that they need so that they can get on in their educational journey to the next step. It's not as differentiated as it could be for individual students, is the feedback I got. It could have some more time to break out or more realistic videos and remediation features built in. But other than that, it does the job of getting the students to master the missing standards that they need. This one is really cool. It's called IC3 Spark, and it's essentially a certification process for getting students certified in online programs. And the one that we focus on at our school is the geometrics, is the training portion of it for the digital tools certification. And this is primarily focused on computing fundamentals, next generation applications, and living online. And the assessments are different areas of those components and domains, and it gives you a live performance readout for all the students so that you can actually get some teacher input if you see that students are lacking in that area. They have different modes that you can go on. You can go in the testing mode or the training mode. The training mode has prompts and help tools that students can use to get to next level. And the testing mode is more mapped to actual certification tests. So it's more like a stricter environment and less flexible as the training mode. So the teachers can create custom targeted reports, which is a pretty cool feature. And again, it checks almost all the boxes except for two. Again, the students don't really have the most positive feedback on the experience that they have because again, it doesn't really replace the live teacher, and some of the examples and simulations that they have are very bland and dry because again, if you're testing for Microsoft Word certification and practicing in that training section, then the content is just very dry and cut and doesn't really relate to my students so much as it would from a facilitator-driven experience, I feel, anyway. But it does have the data that allows for teachers, if they have the time or the expertise, to actually have those extra simulation and practice with their students if they have time. But that is my evaluation of my three picks for adaptive learning. And if you would like to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, it's at TigerSim386, and we can continue the conversation online there. And if you have any feedback, please let me know, because I'm always looking for the latest and greatest educational software out there to help meet the needs of my students. So thanks for listening, and tune in next time.